Welcome to the story of the most cancelled woman in human history. I'm talking about the OG homewrecker, the woman who invented gaslighting before it was a trend, the one, the only Anne Boleyn. Now, usually, history class paints her as this tragic victim who cried her way to the chopping block. Boring. Delete that file, because if you look closer, Anne wasn't a victim. She was a disruptor with a capital D. She was a Renaissance baddie who treated the English court like her personal reality TV show. Think about the stakes here. We aren't talking about a messy celebrity breakup on Twitter. We are talking about a love life so chaotic, so toxic, and so powerful that it literally split Europe in half. She is the only woman in history whose refusal to sleep with a guy caused a religious schism that rewrote Western civilization. POV, imagine you are so hot, so intelligent, and so lethal that the King of England, a man who owns everything, decides to literally fire the Pope ghost, the entire Catholic Church, and set his country on fire, just to get your phone number. That is not romance. That is a hostile takeover. Henry VIII was the ultimate simp, and Anne was the ultimate prize. She kept him chasing for 7 years without giving him anything. But as we all know, when you play the Game of Thrones with a man who has an ego the size of a planet, winning is dangerous. She climbed to the very top wearing sunglasses while the world burned around her. But was the view worth losing her head over? Do you think so? Well, grab your popcorn and hide your neck. Let's see. POV, you are Anne Boleyn. You just stepped off the boat from France, and let's be real, the glow up is blinding. You spent your teenage years in the French court, which was basically the 16th century equivalent of being an influencer in LA. You learned how to dress, how to flirt in 3 languages, and how to eat a croissant without getting crumbs on your cleavage. You walk into the English court, and honestly, it's a tragedy. The fashion is tragic. The conversation is mid. The women are dressed like nuns who lost a bet, but then you walk in. You've got that Parisian Baddy energy. You're wearing a French hood that shows off your hair, scandalous, and you have a neckline so low it requires a security clearance. Suddenly, every man in the room forgets his wife's name, including the big boss, Henry VIII. Now let's talk about Henry. At this point in history, he's not the fat guy on the playing cards yet. He's tall, athletic, rich, and has an ego big enough to have its own gravitational pull. He's used to women dropping their handkerchiefs and their morals the second he walks in. He sees you, he swipes right immediately, he thinks this is going to be easy. Why? Because he literally just finished sleeping with your sister Mary Boleyn. Mary was the free trial. She was fun, she was easy, and when Henry got bored, he canceled her subscription. Henry thinks you're just a sequel, Boleyn 2.0. But do you think you're going to be another notch on his bedpost? Let's see. Henry slides into your DMs. Well, he sends a servant with a gold necklace, which was the Renaissance equivalent of a "you up yours" a text. And this is where you flip the script. This is where you become a legend. You don't say yes. You don't giggle. You leave the King of England on read. You look him dead in the eye and drop the most dangerous line in history. Your Majesty, I cannot be your mistress. I will be your wife, or I will be nothing. Boom. Mic drop. You just put the most powerful man in Europe in the friend zone. A friend zone so deep, scientists are still trying to find the bottom of it. For most women, saying no to Henry meant losing your head. For you, it made him absolutely feral. He becomes obsessed. He writes you love letters, 17 of them, calling himself your servant. It's giving major simp energy. He's begging, he's pleading, he's down bad, and you play the long game. We aren't talking weeks. We are talking 7 years. 7 years of emotional edging. 7 years of witty banter, side eyes, and maybe later Henry. You hold out for that ring. You gatekeep your affection like it's the nuclear launch codes. But there is a tiny little problem standing in your way. A problem named Catherine of Aragon. She's the queen. She's Spanish royalty. She's been married to Henry for decades. She's basically the boomer wife who refuses to sign the divorce papers because tradition. Henry asks the Pope for a divorce. The Pope says, "New phone, who dis?" Actually, the Pope was afraid of Catherine's nephew, who had an army, but let's not get technical. So Henry is stuck. He has a wife he hates and a girlfriend who won't let him smash until he puts a ring on it. Most men would just cheat. Henry, he rewrites Western civilization. He goes full Karen on the Catholic Church. He speaks to the manager of Christianity. He decides, if the Pope won't let me be single, I'll just fire the Pope. This is the Reformation. In history books, they say it was about theology and corruption. Do you think so? Please. Let's be brutally honest. England broke away from Europe, dissolved the monasteries, and changed the course of history. All because one king had a terminal case of blue balls, and one clever woman refused to give him the cure. You didn't just break up a marriage, Anne. You broke the map, Henry declares himself the head of the Church of England. He divorces Catherine via a text message, basically, and finally, he puts that crown on your head. You won. You escaped the friend zone and made it to the throne. But here's the thing about getting what you want. Now you have to keep it. And the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The chase is over. Now the nightmare begins. You secured the bag. You got the ring. You posted the just married selfie with the King of England. You won the game, right, wrong. Here's the ugly truth about marrying a narcissist. The second the chase is over, the love bombing stops and the nightmare begins. As soon as that crown touches your head, the vibe shifts. It shifts hard. Henry isn't the simping poet anymore. He transforms overnight into the ultimate toxic boss. And your new job description, it isn't queen, it isn't wife, it is royal baby machine. You have one KPI: produce a male heir. That's it. If you fail, you don't just get fired, you get deleted. So you get pregnant immediately. The pressure is on. The paparazzi, the ambassadors, are zooming in on your stomach. The whole kingdom is placing bets. And then, the unboxing video goes wrong. You give birth to a healthy, beautiful baby girl, Elizabeth. Now, in our timeline, Elizabeth is an icon. She's the Beyonce of monarchs. But in 1533, to Henry, she is a 404 error. She's a glitch in the matrix. Henry walks into the room, looks at the baby, and smiles. But it's not a real smile. It's that terrifying, dead-eyed customer service smile a manager gives you right before he screams at you in the back room. He says, "It's fine, we'll try again." But you can feel the temperature in the room drop 20 degrees. Strike one. Do you think he gave you time to recover? Let's see. You are back in the bedroom immediately, but now it's not romantic. It's mechanical, it's stressful, and then the real horror starts. The miscarriages, you get pregnant again, you lose it. You get pregnant again. It's a stillborn boy. This is where the psychological horror kicks in. You are physically traumatized, grieving, and hormonal. You need a husband. But Henry, he looks at you like a man who lost the receipt for a defective blender. He's looking at you thinking, "Can I return this? Is the warranty still valid?" He starts gaslighting you. He tells you that you seduced him into this marriage with witchcraft. He tells you that God is punishing you. And while you are recovering in your room bleeding and terrified, you hear a sound coming from the main hall. Laughter. Henry is hanging out with your new lady-in-waiting, Jane Seymour. Let's talk about Jane. If you are the spicy, French-educated, intellectual girl boss, Jane is the human equivalent of unseasoned oatmeal. She is the ultimate pick-me girl. She plays the tradwife card perfectly. She's quiet. She's submissive. She doesn't have opinions. She is everything you are not. Henry loves it. He's tired of a wife who talks back. He wants a wife who sits down and shuts up. Suddenly, you aren't the main character anymore. You're the obstacle. The court sees it. Your friends see it. They stop bowing as low. They start whispering when you walk by. The walls of the palace start closing in. You realize with absolute terror that you are trapped in a marriage with a man who has already mentally checked out, and he has the power to chop off heads when he gets annoyed. You have one card left to play: get pregnant one last time. It's the final level of the game. If you win, you live. If you lose, well, let's just say Henry is already sharpening his axe. The fairy tale is officially over. Welcome to the survival show. POV, it's May 1536. The vibe hasn't just shifted. It has fallen off a cliff. Henry wants out of this marriage, but he can't just divorce you. That is so 1533. Divorce takes time, and frankly, Henry is done with paperwork. He needs a permanent solution. He needs a clean break. So he calls in his fixer, Thomas Cromwell. Think of Cromwell not as a boring politician, but as the king's personal lawyer meets mob enforcer. He is the guy you call when you need to bury a body metaphorically or literally. Henry points at a problem and Cromwell makes it disappear. And right now, you are the problem. Cromwell knows he can't get you on a technicality. You're too smart for that. He needs to destroy your reputation so thoroughly, so completely, that no one will care when your head rolls. He needs to write a piece of fanfiction so scandalous, so depraved that it legally counts as high treason. So he sits down and starts cooking up the charges. And folks, buckle up, because these aren't just little white lies. These are thermonuclear warheads. The accusations, the nuclear option. They accuse you of adultery. Okay, bad but survivable. Queens have been accused of cheating before, but they don't stop there. They go full scorched earth. They accuse you of sleeping with 5 men. First, they grab Mark Smeaton, a court musician. He's a nobody. They drag him to Cromwell's house and torture him. We aren't talking about a stern talking to. They tie a knotted rope around his head and twist it until his eyes are practically popping out. He screams, he breaks, he confesses to anything just to make it stop. Then they grab Henry Norris, the king's best friend. This is shocking. It's like accusing the first lady of sleeping with the vice president. But then, Cromwell drops the atomic bomb. the charge that makes the entire court gasp and clutch their pearls. They accuse you of sleeping with George Boleyn, your own brother. Do you see how insane this is? They are painting you as a sorceress, a nymphomaniac, a monster who sleeps with her siblings to get pregnant because the king can't get the job done. The charges read like a twisted Game of Thrones plotline written by a drunk teenager who just discovered what shock value means. Let's check the receipts. Did they have evidence? No. Did they have witnesses? Numbered? Did they have dates? Yes. But here is the kicker. The dates they listed in the indictment were times when you were literally giving birth or recovering from pregnancy. Imagine being in labor surrounded by doctors and having the government accuse you of sneaking out to seduce a courtier. It is physically impossible. But facts don't matter when the king wants you dead. This isn't a trial. It's a hit job. The trial, the roast of Anne Boleyn, welcome to the Tower of London. It's showtime. This isn't a court of law, it's a kangaroo court. The jury is packed with people who hate your guts. Sitting on the jury is Henry Percy, your ex-fiancé, the love of your life that you were forced to dump years ago. Now he has to vote on your death. And the judge, it's your own uncle, the Duke of Norfolk. Talk about a toxic family reunion. But here is where you shine. This is your main character moment. Most people would collapse. Most people would beg for mercy. Not you. You walk into that hall looking absolutely flawless. You don't cry. You don't beg. You stand there isolated and alone, and you dismantle their case piece by piece. When they accuse you of lewdly dropping a handkerchief to seduce a man, you laugh at them. You openly mock the charges. You argue with such logic, such wit, and such legal sharpness that the spectators who came there to watch you die start betting money that you'll be acquitted. You are literally slaying them with facts. You are winning the debate. Quote, she stood there, smarter than every man in the room, knowing she was already dead. Yeah, because that's the tragedy. It doesn't matter that you are innocent. It doesn't matter that their evidence is trash. Spoiler alert. Henry has already ordered the sword from France. The executioner is already on the payroll. He booked the Uber for the swordsman a week ago. The jury doesn't even pretend to debate. They don't need to deliberate. They come back with the verdict immediately. Guilty. Your uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, has to read the sentence. He's crying probably fake crocodile tears because he knows this looks bad for the family brand. You are sentenced to be burned at the stake or beheaded at the king's pleasure. So generous of him. Right? What a guy. The gavel bangs. The conspiracy worked. You've been framed, shamed, and cancelled in the most brutal way possible. But as you turn to leave, something shifts. You don't look defeated. You walk out of that hall with your head held high, looking every inch a queen, leaving a room full of powerful men absolutely terrified of you. You lost the trial, but the real show, the season finale, it's just about to begin. Are you ready for the final cut? Henry buried you in an old arrow chest. No monument, no funeral. He thought he had successfully pressed delete on your existence. But here's the cosmic joke. Karma is a queen. Henry tore the world apart for a son. He got one Edward. And guess what? Edward was a flop. He died as a teenager. The Tudor male line went extinct. Epic fail. But that disappointment baby, that ginger girl Henry ignored, she grew up to be Elizabeth I. Elizabeth wasn't just a queen. She was the Go-8. She crushed the Spanish Armada. She built an empire. She ushered in the Golden Age. She did everything Henry wanted a son to do, but she did it in heels. Every time Elizabeth signed a law, every time she stared down an army, that was your DNA on the throne. That was your revenge. Do you see it now? Henry VIII is remembered as a fat, syphilitic tyrant who couldn't keep a wife. You are remembered as the mother of England's greatness. You lost your head in 1536, but you absolutely won the Game of Thrones. You played 4D chess from the grave. Checkmate. So I have to ask you, was Anne Boleyn a villain, a victim, or just a woman born 500 years too early for this world? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more history that your teachers were too scared to tell you. Class dismissed.